Life resumed after the rest day with bad news, or good news I suppose, depending on your perspective. Barlow World's Moises Dueñas became the second rider to be kicked off the race after testing positive for EPO. Like Manuel Beltran, he was arrested by the gendarmes and taken away for questioning. And like Beltran, although he was bad news, he wasn't necessarily big news. Ricardo Rico was, though, 24, second in the Giro d'Italia and winner of 2 of the first 11 stages. News of his positive test came through at the stage start in La Balané. The self-proclaimed Cobra left the team bus and the race to an instant verdict from the fans, and the rest of his Sarnia Duval team followed. The next day, Sarnia Duval sacked not only Rico, but Leonardo Piepoli too, who'd won the stage to Otakam, citing nothing more specific than a breach of the team's code of ethics. How you viewed the positive tests depended on whether you saw the syringes half full or half empty. The organisers chose to frame it all in terms of progress.
Ça avait été mis en examen par le procureur. Donc, c'est une situation, je crois qu'on peut aujourd'hui saluer. Pourquoi? Parce que ça prouve que dans ce pays, dans notre pays aujourd'hui, eh bien, l'ensemble des acteurs montrent, prouvent qu'ils veulent lutter efficacement contre le dopage. Et cette lutte, elle ne peut pas se faire, convenez-en, sans un certain nombre d'accros. Vous ne pouvez pas imaginer que d'un coup de baguette magique, tout d'un coup, on va transformer le monde du sport et le monde du cyclisme. Ça prendra du temps. Mais je pense que ce qui se passe cette année montre qu'on se rapproche de plus en plus d'une situation acceptable.
First, we thought we were seeing a doping purge that was just a leftover from a very specific era. Then we thought we were seeing the remnants of said era just working their way out. Now, though, with Rico positive, I'm forced to admit just how naive we were probably being. In fact, it's really a human issue. There will always be cheats in all walks of life, and the only way to combat them is to make sure that the risks are greater than the reward. And I think that there's 2 strategies that we can employ to achieve that. Firstly, the penalties for the individual must be made so severe that it's not worth taking even the smallest chance. Instant life ban, for example, and huge financial penalties. Both of these are within the gift of the sport. Secondly, it must be made in everybody's personal interest to make sure that these rules are enforced. Absolutely no possibility of business as usual if a rider is found positive simply by renouncing them. And if the teams were to suffer, say, a 2-month suspension or even a year's ban for a second infraction, well, you can be very, very sure that they're going to keep their house in order. It's clear to me that without a fundamental change in how cycling does business, well, we're not likely to get a fundamental change in the outcome either. And although it's fantastic now the testing has become so incredibly effective, what we really need to go with it, that is a deterrent that makes sure there's no one left to catch.
Stage 12 was the first of 2 likely-looking days, a 168-kilometre exit ramp from the Pyrenees to a flat finish in Narbonne. As ever in this part of France, the setting was beautifully staged. And as things turned out, the catch of the day's breakaway was beautifully timed. The bunch was all together, heading towards the finish.
George Hincapie now takes over the pacemaking at 2 kilometres to go. Marcus Burkhardt slips back in there. He knows they're a long way out from the finish line. They're waiting to see. Look at the outside there. That Mark Cavendish has slipped back an awful long way, and he's going to get moved up on the right-hand side by his teammate. That is Gerard Cholek.
Well, just looking now, they've got the train going, and it's a well-organised train here. Hunter's trying to hitch up to the back of it here. Cavendish is over to the left of our picture. In fact, his teammates were looking now. This is a move they don't want to see. At 1.5 kilometres to go, there is a counter move on the far side. It's Milram.
Milram in control now. They'll be looking after their man, and their man is going to be Eric Zabel here this afternoon. I have a funny feeling I can see that's Julian Dean in 4th position. The Kiwi national champion is looking for a victory here this afternoon for Garmin Chipotle, but right behind him, queuing up, the big men from Quick-Step. They've done this so many times before for Tom Boonen. Today they're going to try and do it for Hed Stegemans, and right in the middle of the mix there is Robbie McEwen.
But this is the right-hand turn, a wide sweep by some of the riders there. They've managed to correct it. Cadell Evans lost a lot of places, but he's safe in the peloton here now as the acceleration comes from the front. And again, it is a perfect lead out here for possibly Thor Hushoff and certainly Oscar Freire. He's in the lighter green jersey. Gert Stegmans is trying to make a move, and they are making that run on the left-hand side of the road.
It's such a long way to go. You dare not misjudge this. Now, all of a sudden, Thor Hushovd has jumped ship. He's left his teammate and lead-out man behind him. He's still got their Mark Renshaw, but his team Quick-Step in the front, up into about third or fourth position, is the young man from the Isle of Man, Mark Cavendish, but on his shoulder is Hushovd, on his wheel is Oscar Freire.
And just behind too is Jimmy Casper here now. Now goes Cavendish, goes from the centre. This is a perfect lead-out, and this is how he goes, and beat that. He is the fastest man in the world right now, Mark Cavendish. There's nobody even comparing. Mark Cavendish becomes the first British cyclist to ever win 3 stages in a Tour de France. He's done it for the American team Columbia, and they wanted him to give up and go to the Olympic Games. Not chance, no chance.
No chance at all. There's a lot of pressure on this young man from the United Kingdom to leave the Tour de France behind and go and concentrate on the Olympic Games. But this man, Phil, is on the top of his game at the Tour de France. 3 is what he's trying to tell us. 3 stage victories in a single Tour de France ahead of Erik Zabel and Oscar Freire and Thor Hushovd. This was a great performance. The team did a great job for him. But just have a look at it one more time. You can see the acceleration there coming forward of Sebastian Chavanel. And then all of a sudden, the man from the Isle of Man, he feels the instinct to go. He can feel the challenge over on the right-hand side. But once he sees the door opening right in front of him, he kicks. The turbo whistles, and all of a sudden, he can see the finishing line. He looks under his shoulder. Any shadows? No shadows. I've got this one in the bag. Win number 3.
Mark, when's it going to sink in? You've created a real bit of cycling history in Britain there. 3 wins on the Tour. No one has done that before.
Yeah, well, I knew I could do it. I knew with the team I had, I could do it, you know. And for sure, that was the hardest of my wins. But it's still first across the line, so I'm very happy.
Your team have told me today that you said over radio early on that you knew you were going to win again today, and you actually told them over radio. Is that true?
Yeah, I made another joke. I said, let's play a little game today. Who's got the predictions for the day? And then, yeah, you know, so I didn't put money on myself this time, but, you know, we still paid off and we still won, so.
And so, in the sunshine here at Narbonne, Mark Cavendish has now achieved something no other rider from the United Kingdom has ever done. He has now won 3 stages of the Tour de France in the same year. And he did it with an incredible sprint finish. He clearly is now the fastest cyclist in the world over that last 200 metres. Well, his next target, I suppose, is Barry Hoban now, because Barry won 8 stages of the Tour de France, and there's nobody in between 3 and 8.
So an historic 3-stage wins for Mark Cavendish, and 2 more chances left in the race to make it 4. The final day on the Champs-Élysées, and the very next day in Nîmes.